Hey guys, Marstingan here, bringing another Dragon Ball Z Dokkan battle video. And so with all the hints and reveals and everything that we got yesterday with the final time machine video, the V-Jump leaks, now we've had the data download that shows the countdown screens that ultimately count down to the 1 day left to go, which is very clearly the start of the Goku Black Future arc. One of the things that seems almost certain, almost guaranteed at this point, is that we will be getting a new Goku Black or a new Zamasu, or both, in some way, shape or form during this celebration. So one of the big things that I wanted to talk about for this video, as you can obviously already see by the title, is are we going to get the super bosses category in the game? Because we obviously have superheroes, and then if we look at the other categories that are of a similar ilk, we have GT heroes and GT bosses, we have movie heroes and movie bosses. So now we have superheroes with the release of the Piccolo and Gohan, but we do not yet have super bosses. Now, the reason why I wanted to bring up Piccolo right at the start here is not only is he one of the characters that introduced the superheroes category, but he also creates a very interesting new precedent for the way that categories can work for some of these units, right? Because we all know Dokkan makes some very weird choices when it comes to the categories that they give characters. And one of the things that they did with this guy and Gohan that they haven't really done before is that these guys have Battle of Fate and movie heroes, and they have superheroes. So a lot of the time in the past, characters only got the Battle of Fate category if they were from the final fight of a specific arc in the anime, and therefore people that were on Battle of Fate weren't on movie heroes, for example, and vice versa. But when they brought out Gohan and Piccolo, they are on movie heroes and Battle of Fate and superheroes. So superheroes obviously is factoring in the movies and the anime itself, because obviously characters like, you know, Blue Kaioken Goku, MVP 17, they are on superheroes as well, and then so is Blue Gogeta on superheroes. So the movies and the anime are all included for superheroes. Now that is a thing, like people have obviously said, you know, characters like Broly and Gogeta should be added to Battle of Fate, for example, because if Gohan and Piccolo and even Cell Max, even though he doesn't have a playable card, his boss card actually does have categories. Even though obviously they're technically useless, I guess they're just there as part of the game data. They are on Battle of Fate whilst also being movie bosses and involved with Super. But that's obviously a discussion for another time. I definitely think you could make the argument that Gogeta and Broly should be added to Battle of Fate, but it is what it is. So we are here to talk about the potential characters that would be on a Super Bosses category. And obviously the reason why I've laid all of that out already is because we can take a look at the Battle of Fate link. But you have to remember, as I said already, the Battle of Fate link, or category I should say, is more for the characters that are from the final arcs of the anime. So it won't necessarily be a simple case of just take a look at the Battle of Fate category and whoever's in here, boom, there you go, there's your Super Bosses category. Because one of the things immediately that kind of throws that off is you can see Omega Shenron is on here. Is Sin Shenron on here? No, Sin Shenron isn't on here either, yeah. So it's just Omega Shenron. I was going to say none of the other Shadow Dragons are on there. I had to double check for Sin, but none of the other Shadow Dragons are on there. But all of the Shadow Dragons are on GT bosses. So just because they're not on Battle of Fate doesn't mean they won't get the Super Bosses category. So obviously this is just speculation. At the end of the day, Dokkan will do whatever Dokkan is going to do. As I've said at the beginning, they often make some very weird choices when it comes to categories. So let me know what you guys think down below. I'm going to go through the characters that I think for sure should be on this category. Obviously not every single card, but just the different variations of the characters. And you can let me know what you think down below. Let me know if you think I missed anyone out. I wouldn't be surprised if I did, but I think I've put together everybody. So when we come to Dragon Ball Super, the very beginning, we're going to go in like chronological order. So the first thing we come to is Beerus. Now, not this Beerus specifically, but Beerus in general, right? That's the same case for all these units, right? It might not be this specific unit, because we all know different characters have different iterations. There's a God Goku that's on Movie Heroes, and there's a God Goku that's on Battle of Fate, and they're not on the same, they're not on the other one, right? So Beerus. Now Beerus, the movie Beerus, remember that Battle of Gods was marketed as Dragon Ball Z Battle of Gods. So it'd be interesting to see. Obviously this is one of those characters that is on movie bosses, despite being a super character. He's not on superheroes, because even though he is a super character, he's the main boss of the movie. Now, obviously Dragon Ball Super retells the Battle of Gods arc. So technically, a Beerus, as long as the Beerus isn't supposed to be the one from the movie, or they could just give it to all of them, who knows how they're going to do it. But Beerus definitely would be the first contender for a Super Bosses category, right? Now, if Super hadn't retold the movie arcs, then maybe you could say that he definitely wouldn't be in there, because like I say, Dragon Ball Z Battle of Gods is how the movie was marketed. But since the anime went and retold it, plus he is in Battle of Fate. So actually, thinking back, he's another one of these early characters. I kept thinking it was Piccolo and Gohan were the first exception, but this guy is on Battle of Fate and Movie Bosses. There probably are some other ones now that I'm not thinking of. Maybe Movie Heroes and Battle of Fate was always the one that was never put together, but this guy is on Battle of Fate and Movie Bosses. So I would definitely expect him to be on Super Bosses, even if it's not this specific one, right? We do have a couple of other Beeruses. That could include the Beerus and Whis, although I could potentially see them leaving off the Beerus and Whis card, just because Whis obviously doesn't fight anyone in Super, or at least doesn't fight the good guys, right? So I could see that. That'd be kind of annoying for the links and everything. It'd be better if they were on there, but I can see Beerus definitely being on there in some way, shape, or form. So then, of course, that brings us on to, in the chronological order, Resurrection of F, which again, I believe was advertised as a Dragon Ball Z movie, but was retold in Dragon Ball Super. And just like Beerus, this guy is on Movie Bosses and Battle of Fate. So Golden Frieza definitely seems like an interesting choice for this team. There are a bunch of different Golden Friezas, but I believe they are all on Movie Bosses. So again, we're kind of going by the Super retold the anime, and therefore that qualifies him to be on the Super Bosses category, right? Because if we consider the timeline of the anime, he is the main boss of one of the arcs. He is on Battle of Fate, assumingly for that reason. So I would absolutely see Golden Frieza being on the Super Bosses category. Now, Super Bosses, again, we haven't really got to any. I guess we mentioned Whis a little bit. I could see it kind of being like GT Bosses and Movie Bosses, where the henchmen won't be on there, which is kind of unfair, because obviously for the Super version, both Movie Heroes and GT Heroes, they basically just throw all of the Super characters on those, and the extreme ones are the ones that suffer, but I guess that's something we will have to wait and see. Now, the next one that I think maybe is questionable, because if in the chronological order, I believe the next arc after this, I'd have to go back. I should have checked the order of the Super arcs. But before we start really kicking into the Future Saga with the Goku Black stuff, we have the Universe 6 versus Universe 7 tournament. So, whilst I don't think somebody like Frost would make it into there, in fact, I don't know, do we even have a card of Frost from the Universe 6 versus Universe 7 tournament? Because he doesn't go full power until the Tournament of Power, does he? And the only cards we have is the one that is full power in the TUR, and then the one with Golden Frieza, which is obviously from the Tournament of Power. So I don't think we even have a Frost card from the Universe 6 versus Universe 7 tournament, unless it's like the SRs, right? Because it's like first form Frost and stuff. So arguably, if you want to go by the way that arc works, Hit is kind of the final boss of the Universe 6 versus Universe 7 tournament, right? So I could see Hit being on Super Bosses. I suppose technically it would have to be the hits that are from the Universe 6 tournament, and I don't know if any of them specifically are, because obviously this guy has the Tournament of Power link. I'm trying to think now, are there any hits? Let's have a look actually. Because are there any hits in the game that don't have the Tournament of Power link? Because then technically they would be the ones from the Universe 6 versus Universe 7 tournament. So if we open up the... Where's the int one? There he is. So let's have a look. So the AGL one is... does not have it. So this guy is from the reps of Universe 6. He's on Universe Survival Saga, which... interesting. Then we have the STR hit that's the 50% support. He does have Tournament of Power. And then the int one does not have Tournament of Power either. So I'm assuming that he is supposed to be the Universe the 6 versus Universe 7 arc one, right? So Hit could definitely have some of his cards on there. I guess technically the ones that are from the Tournament of Power wouldn't be on there, but let me know what you think. Should all hits just be on there anyway? I mean, because at the end of the day, Hit's not exactly an enemy, quote unquote, in the Tournament of Power, but it's a tournament, so they kind of all are enemies, right? The opposing teams. So you could probably still get away with it, I think. In fact, I didn't even really think about that until just now. So you could probably argue that every single character from the Tournament of Power that isn't from Team Universe 7 could be on super bosses, but then again, we're probably going to go by the GT bosses logic, right, where only the main guys are going to be on there. So maybe you could argue Kale and Caulifla and Kefla, because they do a lot of mixing it up with Goku, but again, going by the GT bosses sort of logic, and movie bosses as well, it probably wouldn't be them for the Tournament of Power. But let me know what you think down below. Do you think all the adversaries from the Tournament of Power should be on there? It's quite an interesting thing to think about. Now, obviously, we saw the next tab already. Of course, the big one that's going to be the focus of this celebration, Goku Black. So, obviously, every version of Goku Black, every version of Rose, every version of Zamasu, every version of Fusion Zamasu, including the Corrupted Zamasu. Now, again, this is where we come back to the Battle of Fate not necessarily being the be-all and end-all, because Battle of Fate, the Goku Blacks are not on Battle of Fate. Battle of Fate is specifically for basically Vegito versus Zamasu. And then actually Trunks and Vegeta are on there as well. But yeah, so Rose and the base Goku Blacks are not on Battle of Fate, but I would 100% expect them to be on super bosses. I guess, like, you could make the argument based on the movie bosses logic that technically Zamasu is the boss of the arc, and especially Fuse Zamasu, so the Goku Black wouldn't be on there, but I feel like that would be stupid, right? Like, you have to put Goku Black on there. Goku Black and Zamasu are, like, equally as popular and important characters in that arc, right? So I feel like Goku Black has to be on there, right? There's surely no way, right? So that covers basically the whole of the future arc, and then of course going back to the Tournament of Power, as we already mentioned. I think I might have missed out one of the like filler arcs or something, but I'm not too sure. And then we go on to the main event, of course, which is the Tournament of Power. So the Tournament of Power, of course, if we disregard all the other stuff like Kale, Caulifla, all the people from the other teams, the obvious super boss for the Tournament of Power would be Jiren. So just like Beerus, this would be another super character that is on one of the bosses' teams. But I absolutely think that Jiren should be on here. Now, normal Jiren is not on Battle of Fate, but full power Jiren is on Battle of Fate, because it is the final fight of the arc. Obviously, him versus Whitehead UI Goku. So I could definitely see this guy being on there. I don't see any reason why they wouldn't put the normal one on there as well. But yeah, these guys should definitely be on a super bosses category, in my opinion. And again, going back to like the minions, the Shadow Dragons is what really throws it out, right? Like, why are they all on GT bosses, but no other minions are for GT bosses or movie bosses? I don't know. But depending on the logic they go for super bosses, I definitely don't think we would see Topo or Dispo on there. I mean, God of Destruction, Topo, maybe you could make an argument that he could be on there, I guess, but probably not, right? Like, it's basically just going to be Jiren, unless we are putting, as I said, all the opponents from the Tournament of Power. I guess they could do some of the main focus ones, but then it would just be weird to do some and not the others, right? Like God of Destruction, Topo, Kefla. I could kind of see that, because they were some of the more important fights of the Tournament of Power, right? If they're not going to put on everyone, at least put on some of those big ticket fights. Otherwise, it's just going to be Jiren, right? And then going into the movies, because as we've already said, Dragon Ball Super bosses, regardless of whether they decide to retroactively give him Battle of Fate, which, I mean, I don't think they will, but Broly absolutely should be on super bosses. And this is where we come back to like the Piccolo example, right? Because Broly, again, is a movie boss, but Piccolo is a movie hero and a super hero, so Broly should be a super boss, right? The movie is literally Dragon Ball Super Broly, and he is the boss of the movie, so he should be on it. All versions of him, so like the Wrathful Broly, even though he's obviously very outdated now, but maybe one day we'll get a new one. The eventual standalone full power Broly, these guys should all be on super bosses. But we obviously wouldn't put on like Paragus. Would you put on the free-to-play Golden Frieza from this movie? I guess you probably would, right? I think he is on movie bosses. Paragus isn't, but I'm pretty sure that Golden Frieza is, so he should probably make it onto super bosses as well. But that makes sense, because we've got all the other Golden Friezas on there as well anyway. So yeah, Broly definitely needs to be on there. And then of course I did name drop him earlier in the video, but if we do ever actually get a standalone card for Cell Max, as you can see, this is the info for the boss card, and he has categories: androids, artificial life forms, movie bosses, and Battle of Fate. So super bosses absolutely would be added to this, and if he gets a summonable card, then he would be on that category as well. So that wraps up the choices that I've gone through. Obviously it doesn't seem like a lot of single units, but as I said, depending on how they apply the logic, it's going to be every version of those cards, including the new ones that we're going to get. It would definitely be interesting to have a combo of some of those units on the same team, especially like imagine we get a new really good standalone full power Broly, and then he works really well on a team with like the new Goku Black or something, right? Because they're both on super bosses. Obviously some of these characters won't necessarily work super well together, but I do think it's a category that we should get in the game. I feel like it's telegraphed, right? I mean, they brought out superheroes, and every other heroes category we have the bosses equivalent, right? So let me know what you guys think down below. Like I said, there's a couple of questions I posed during the video about characters, whether you think they should be on there or not, so let me know. And any other characters you feel like I missed out, let me know those down below in the comment section as well. So that is going to be it for the video, guys. This has been the Masked Ningen. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new, check out the links down below for the Discord and the merch store, and I will see you all again soon. Have a good one.